Well, hello everyone, and welcome to, I think I'm going to do with let me see. We have 4 podcasts, right? So I always have to pick the podcast that I'm actually going to put this on and then introduce it. It's always oh so fun. Because the moment that happens, you're like, "What?" Okay. So let me figure it out. So there's one, and welcome to, I think I'm going to do with let me see. 3 and we have 4 podcasts. 4. I'm going with number 4. Yes. The 4th one is going to be the writer's class. Unless you're a movie person and I just don't know it, right? Movie producer, director? No? Okay. Writer's class it is. Hello everyone and welcome to the writer's class. That was my long running joke. And you see how long that bit took? That's because I'm sleepy. So my brain is like, so I'm going to be done with the bits now. We wrote books. Normally when I say we, there's normally like a jade on this side or some side. On either side of me, there's normally one jade. I don't know how you do that. I guess you split jade in half and put her on both sides. There you go. But she's not here today. But we wrote books. And the books are And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, and I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy, If Only I Were Me, a Memoir, and Verse 4 in Coffee, Widow's Web, and Widow's Death. And if you're following along and you can count my fingertips, right? That's 6 books. So those are 6 audiobooks wherever your audiobooks are sold. Oh, I should mention that our books, since Jade isn't here, and that's normally her thing, are literary life guides with pop poetry. Now, if you want to get the rest of the 15 books, Lord have mercy. I need to stop writing. Or maybe I need to write more. You can check out www.andithoughladies.com. So since I'm out of energy, I'm not doing it again like I'm a car salesman. That I'm done with that. So you're not here to hear about me. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Debra Yates. I'm author of the book Woman of Many Names. And 3 things that people don't know about me in general are I'm pretty consistent. I have to wake up very slowly, so it takes me about an hour to wake up every morning, maybe longer if it was a real long night. And the other thing is that I'm a Cherokee Indian,
Nice.
which people don't know.
Yeah. That okay. I'm not gonna because if I talk about that now, then we would like not talk about the book. So let me go ahead and be like, you're consistent. I feel like if you're consistent, you should do a podcast.
I probably should.
And I should be one of the
I've
guests.
been on a few.
How many podcasts have you done? How many interviews?
Oh, mercy. Interviews, TV, radio, and podcasts. I'd say I'm probably working on about 50 or 60.
Nice.
Been around a little bit. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I have a wonderful publicist whose name is Bruce Wozniak, and he still rustles up an interview or 2 for me pretty much every month. So it's been fun. I really enjoy talking about my book and mostly talking about Nancy Ward, who the book is written about. And it's been a wonderful journey that I never expected that I would take in this lifetime.
So why didn't you? Okay, let's start at the beginning. What made you write the book, and who is it about?
It's about my 7th-great-grandmother. She was Alaska Gayu, which means beloved woman of the Cherokee Nation before the removal. So it was pre-Revolutionary War, that type of stuff. She schemed with Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and Daniel Boone and a few other notorious fellows along the way.
I love that with all those fellas, there's the name of your of your grandmother. That is just amazing. It's like, hey, the big dogs, and then there's me, y'all.
There was her.
So
She was indeed a force to be reckoned with, a force in nature in her own. She was very intuitive, had the gift of sight, precognition, um, just a, an amazing human being that was raised and trained from very young to be a leader amongst the Cherokee Nation.
Wow. So how did you find out about your grandmother? What kind of history research did you have to do?
Well, basically what I started out this it wasn't supposed to be a book. I was just writing down the information that my grandfather and his brothers and sisters had imparted on me over the years. And at first, it was very secretive about our ancestry. And, my grandfather left the reservation in the early 20s. They were, it was the mass exodus from there because there was just so much starvation and lack of work. So he left and moved to Florida. When the family moved from Florida to Ohio, it was a concerted decision not to tell people that they were Native American Indians. Because, if you imagine back in the 40s and the 30s, it was rough for us. You know what I'm talking about? And it was better off folks just didn't know. My grandpa was a half breed, and it was pretty easy for him to make out like he was like Italian or something, they just didn't really discuss ancestry. So when I was about 12, I'd been having repetitive dreams about a Native American woman standing on a hill looking down into the valley, and she'd reach her hand up and go like this. And after several times of the same dream, I asked my mother if she knew anything about this, and she says no, I don't know. So after a couple more times, I had the same exact dream over and over and over and over again. And I finally looked at her one day. I said, Mom, I said, I keep having that same dream. And when she kind of cussed at me a little bit, and she said, all right, you're Cherokee Indian, but don't you tell a soul. And I went, oh, well, that's exactly what I did. I went to school the next day. I told anybody that will listen, I'm American Cherokee, American Indian, and I'm not Italian. And, there we go. So as time, kind of went on and these stories were told to me repetitively, of course, because that is the Native American way, is to tell these stories repetitively to kind of sink it into our brain, because we didn't have a whole lot of trust, of the government and law enforcement and stuff like that. Because as far as I can tell, being um, locked up on a reservation, so to speak, is no fun, and caused a lot of emotional turmoil within the people themselves, caused a lot of depression, that I believe is part of our structural issues at this juncture, why alcoholism and drug abuse are so high amongst the people. And, I just wanted to write those things down about grandmother Nancy Ward, because I was afraid the stories were going to die with me, because I really didn't realize she was real important. I just knew she was very important, and my grandfather just thought that she was amazing, and he would say, oh, you look like my mother, and my mother looked like Nanyi, and that's what they always told her, she looked like Nanyi. And so because he called her Nani or Nanyi. He seldom referred to her as Nancy Ward. And, there's a lot of controversy now about, oh, she was never had the name Nanyi. Well, I believe she did. There's a lot of us that believe she did. She was just, like I said, somebody that doesn't come along very often, like a Benjamin Franklin and a Thomas Jefferson and a Daniel Boone. She loved Daniel Boone so much. And, you know, it just is, it was a different time and a different era that, everything had to happen the way it did to create what we've got going for us here now. We're a wonderful melting pot. That's my belief. So
So you are actually a living part of history. That's gotta be amazing. How did it feel for you? Did you feel like you had to like get up and do something and get out here?
I can't even tell you. Since this, for lack of a better word, this journey began, I have found out I'm a descendant of a Mayflower person, Oceus Hopkins, who was born in the Bay, waiting to get off the ship, and survived all those next few years. You know, of all the people that went on the Mayflower, only 52 survived the first year. And I came from stock like that. And my dad's folks, they came over in the late 1600s and opened missionaries throughout the United States. They were called the Brainerd missions, and he was a Brainerd. And you know, that I had a grandma that was like hung at the Salem witch trials. You know, where do you
Wow.
go? I mean, just, and she really wasn't a witch, and she was declared innocent. Um, Sarah was eventually, but you know, it's history's quite a marvelous thing.
You have quite a lot of history to choose from. How did you pick out what you were going to put in the book and
I
why it
didn't
was
know about
important?
that other stuff. I didn't know any of that other stuff. I knew I knew my relations were Brainards, but I didn't really understand who the Brainards were. And to know, after in the middle of writing my story, I finally figured out that my dad's people were helping my mother's people in Tennessee
Hmm.
in the 1800s. So, you know, oh, I don't know, really. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
How
I
did you
don't know
get?
how I can even weave a book together about all this stuff, about all my ancestors. It's just crazy.
I would call it the quilt of me.
The book of me,
The quilt of me.
the quilt of me. And my grandmother was a quilt maker.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
that way
All
you don't
those
have to
pieces
weave it
parts.
together. You can make it into all the stories are called patches. And then you have a different design at the beginning of every chapter. And at the end, you have the quilt at
Ooh,
the end, and you just write yourself a cute little poem about how your pieces of different parts of history. And that's the end of the book.
that's a wonderful idea.
The quilt of me.
I'll have to put some thought into that. Thank you.
Wow. Now, now we've talked about your second book. We know what's coming up, The Quilt of Me. Um, let's talk about the book you've actually written. So how did you choose what was important to put in there? And then, because I know you did a lot of research, and once you do research, you want to put every line of your research in. So how did you pick out what you wanted to put in? And then
Yes,
how
you
did you
can.
organize it in order to tell a story?
What I did was, of course, I wrote the original writings like I was just going to give them to the kids. So it was probably about maybe 10, 15 pages of, you know, things that I knew already about Nancy. And when my girlfriend transcribed all of it and typed it up for me real pretty so I could, you know, give it to all my nieces and nephews and grandnieces. Um, she just got really emotional and told me, you know, she says, you know, I've always said you got a book in you, Deborah, and I think you found your book. And I said, say what? And she said, yeah, this is a story that needs to be told. She says, I know there's other things out there about Nancy, but you're letting out some family tales here that, really have, she says, from the research I've done, aren't out there. And I said, well, maybe they weren't supposed to be out there. She says, no, it needs to be a book and you need to just sit down and write it. So the next probably couple years, I was in the middle of a pretty tumultuous divorce, and I was in Florida and didn't have a whole lot to do but go from one place to the next to the next and the next. So I just started writing, and I would write it, then I'd read what I wrote, and I'd study some more, then I'd add more. And that's how I just kind of kept building on it. And then I had somebody that knew how to type and use the computer, because I'm like illiterate on a computer. She says, well, I'll help you, you know, and then it was, Deborah, get in here. I got a question. Well, so then we started adding. It was crazy. But it took about 3 years of crazy. And I finally felt I had a story. My mother had fallen ill and scared everything out of us. And, you know, we just weren't sure how much time she would have left. And but she's still alive and kicking and doing really good, I might say. And so I kind of just said, okay, I'm going to stop here, because most of what everybody knows about Nancy is it's already written. I wrote from a young, like the birth of Nancy until she was right around 19, maybe 20 years old, somewhere in that range. And I said, you know, the rest of it's really very well documented. So now I've got all these family members going, oh, nobody tells it like you do, Deborah. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I still haven't finished it. I've got like now 4 in there started. And you know, it's not as easy as you might think. And I'm almost 70, and it's, you know, it's not easy at this age to become something that you really weren't. I call myself an accidental author. And I truly believe that, you know, there was nothing in me that was the driving force that said, yo, you know, you need to write a book someday. So that was my girlfriend's deal. But she never did it, doggone it. So she's been a great friend to me, as well as helped me navigate that first book pretty good.
There's nothing like getting your first spark to write a book, and then you're just like, I gotta do it. And then when the first one is done, you do slow down a bit. But my first one was done when I was like 12. So I didn't slow down at all. So
Girl.
I didn't slow
Yeah.
down a single bit.
Well, I
Slow
had
down now.
a bad English teacher. And, you know, because I always did have a flair for being kind of creative. And, you know, she really gave me what for one day about how I wrote something. And I think it kind of stopped me and almost like was paralyzing. It was, you know, shouldn't do that to children. And I was a bright child. I got good grades, and, you know, she kind of stifled me, really, I believe. And thinking that what I had to say wasn't important. So
Yeah, I definitely understand that. It didn't happen to me till college. And I was working on my 3rd degree, and I was almost done my creative writing degree. And I think I was like, that was my last class, and I just gave up. And I have an English degree instead of a creative writing degree.
no, no, I
But
have none of that
I
coming.
understand. I understand that importance, like the importance to foster creativity. I have to admit, like, I am a narcissist, so I'm gonna talk about me. I have to admit, like, during the entire time that I was in elementary school, it did not, and then in middle school, it did not matter to me because I got published when I was 10. So it didn't matter to me that you didn't like it because I was the best. You just didn't know yet. When you caught up, you'd figure it out. And it
You
took
know,
up
not
until my
everybody.
3rd degree, my last degree coming out of college, for someone to be like, you're not the best. And for me to be like, wait, you said what? Because everybody else, I was like, you're not the best. Oh boy, please. Oh girl, please. Whatever.
Yeah,
You just need to read it again. You'll find it.
I get you. I get you. We
But
are beautiful.
I'm sad about this teacher because there are great works that have been missed now from Miss Debra Yates.
Quite possibly. It's
Yes,
all locked up in here if we could just get it out. And here.
exactly.
I
You
mean,
have
you
to
have to write what you know about. So
write with your heart. I do not write what I know. No, I don't. So,
what you know about, not
um,
maybe everything you know, because I didn't write everything I know about Nancy Ward in that book. They're just, I didn't want to get sued, and I didn't want a lot of controversy. because it could happen.
Tell me where we can find out more information about this book.
Yes, you can sign up to the page of Woman of Many Names on Facebook and go over some of the extensive interviews I've done over the years. And you can go to www.womanofmanynames, and that'll take you straight to the publisher if you would like to buy a copy, perhaps. And it's of course available on Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. I did have a 5-star rating, but I think I went down to 4.5 because I got one bad review. Because what happened was somehow or another in the printing process, they used the unedited copy. I didn't send it to him. That somebody that worked for the publishing company sent it to him, and it had quite a few spelling errors in it because I am not the best speller in the world. So anyway, there you go.
I mean, our job is to create. Our job is not to make it perfect. That's what editors are for.
Yeah, I mean, so I missed an eye in spirit. You know?
Spurt is the same word too. I mean, you got a spurt in your spirit.
Yes. But anyway, and I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened, but it did. So, but you know,
At least it wasn't like a bad review because someone actually like hated the book. Like,
no,
yeah, like
no,
that
it wasn't
hurt.
actually.
When you get first bad review because someone hated the book, you're like, excuse you?
Yeah,
I
you
am
know,
so sorry. Are you
lucky
reading
I've
the book?
had that kind of criticism, so I'm glad that I have it.
Good, good. All right. So you all know where you can find it. Can you tell us one more time where you can find out more information about this book? And you.
Yes, Facebook. Like I said, womanofmanynames.com. You can probably find some reviews online. There's a lot of pictures. I've done some really interesting dedication work in Tennessee, where my grandmother's actually buried, my seventh great grandmother. And there's a very old cemetery and boat ramp in Benton, Tennessee. Beautiful spot. I just worked with the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, and we actually were able to procure a beautiful bronze plaque for her for the 250-year anniversary of the Revolutionary War, you know, which is, I guess, coming up or something like that. And yeah, 250. And I think it's in just, you know, another year and a half maybe. So they're in the process of getting these markers set in anticipation of those celebrations. So that was fun. I've gotten to work with the Parks Department of Tennessee, who actually maintains the grounds where she is buried. So it's been quite an adventure. And I've got to know Dr. Bones, whose name is Arthur Bohannon, and he set up all the first graveyards across America and all around the world, where they stick bodies and figure out how long they've been there by the bugs that are in them. He worked on the shuttle. He, you know, helped, you know, with the collecting of the people on the shuttle. He worked at 9/11 and unfortunately did pick up some lung issues and stuff from working at Ground Zero all those years. And he's, you know, teaching us how to find bodies. It's been so cool. He says we're special. He said the Nancy Ward descendants are that we're different, and that we have an intuitiveness that is uncanny, just like she did. And so it's just been an amazing journey, like I said, just crazy.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for coming on today and for talking about Nancy Ward. I have fallen in love with your grandmother, man. She's done so much. So you know, I'm
Well,
picking
there
up
she is, right there.
and the painting.
Yeah, no, there's
And then the book is on the other side.
there it is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. That's her.
So you guys
That's
know
my
exactly what
little-
it looks like. to go
That's
buy
my
it.
little Nancy Ward corner here. Well, I've got a couple corners for her, but yeah, she's kind of taken over my life, so to speak. But it's been a blessing, truly. And thank you for
So
having me on your show today.
we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for me over here. I'm one of the Anti-Thought Ladies. You can find all of our books and anything about us at www.antithoughladies.com. If you happen to be in London and you're going to the London Book Fair in about 9 days, or no, it's 10 days, 11 days, 11 days, and 11 days. Yep. Stop by and come see us because we'll be there. But if you're not traveling over to London and being at the book fair, you'll see us some other time, whenever. But remember, when you go to our page, go down to the middle of the page and you can see the charities that we proudly support. We ask that you support them too. It does not have to be with finances. It could be with time, volunteering. It could be with just giving them some knowledge, some access to the knowledge that you have. We thank you in advance for that. And remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from the Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh, yeah.